More and more these days, it crosses my mind uh, to consider that there have been easier days. We enjoy our freedoms, and we recognize it when our freedoms are taken away from us, or at least put on hold, so they say. And it crosses my mind that, oh, gosh, wouldn't it be great if I could just pray and read my word and uh talk to the Lord, of course, and relax, enjoy the outdoors. I live on the coast, so go to the beach and kick back in my beach chair and really watch a movie or two here and there. And it would be nice just to enjoy the life that I have here on this planet, and kick back and enjoy it. I love running the Lamb Network, and to be able to just manage this and everything. Uh, but day by day, it seems to be getting harder and harder and harder to just relax and enjoy life. There is a massive amount of things happening every day and constantly in our face, with things that are happening around the planet and right in our own backyard, locally, through the United States, all of this type of thing. And, it just gets harder and harder and harder to enjoy our freedoms. And it just gets overwhelming sometimes when all I want to do is kick back and relax and let life happen. It's the more that things happen, the more we have to be aware of our, let's just say, constitutional rights, our rights to be alive, our rights to serve God. We have to be aware of those things and take advantage of those things, because we just don't know when it's going to become where we have to think about this all the time and survive all the time. I'm basically in a non-survival mode at the moment. I am more in I enjoy life. I enjoy my time with God. I enjoy the things that I do. We're remodeling our house, and I enjoy that type of thing. And I love that. But it's like every time I turn around, there's something new that wants to come against our freedoms and our way of life to enjoy and relax. And it's I just I hate it more and more and more every day. So it once again, it just tells me that I need to be aware of my rights and my constitutional rights and my freedom rights and those type of things, because as they are systematically taken away from us, little by little by little by little by little by little by little, and bigger and bigger and bigger, you get to the point where you almost don't even notice that your rights are being taken away from you and things are happening around you. You almost don't even notice unless you pay attention or somebody brings it to your attention, or something that you need to be aware of. And it's, I'm just, it's too bad. I want to be in a place where I can just relax, and I mean, I don't have a fear of what's happening or what's going to happen, that type of thing. I don't have a fear. I just get tired of all the things going on. I just want to be able to enjoy life. Why can't we all just have our freedoms? Previously on Contemplating the Constitution, we did Article 1, Section 4 last week. It seems as though we only get through one section of Article 1 a week, but there's so much to talk about and so many good people that come to join me, and they're waiting off stage here to come on and join me, and I'll bring them in while we listen to this.
I, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, do solemnly swear.
I, Dwight D. Eisenhower, do solemnly swear.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution.
The Constitution of the United States. So help me God.
I do solemnly swear. I do solemnly swear. I do solemnly swear. I do solemnly swear to uphold and of course, my swearing and my vows really don't mean anything anymore, but it no matter, I might as well be speaking in tongues here, because I might as well be speaking in earthly tongues and not heavenly tongues, because nobody really understands anything anybody's saying anymore anyway. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's having as wonderful a time in their life as I am. Good morning, good morning, all. I don't mean to start off in a negative sense at all. It's one of those things where can't we just all get along? Where have I heard that before? Come on, everybody. Can't we all just get along? There's so many songs out there. Back in the day, I graduated high school in 1972, and I was on the radio for 3.5 years before during my high school time. And the songs that we used to play play on the radio were such happy songs. It's like, come on, everybody, get happy, and all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of like, okay, well, I just want to go back to those times sometimes. And, so big old smile, Abigail. Love your smile. How are you, Abigail? You're all prayed up. I don't know about the rest of us, but when Abigail comes on the show, Abigail's all prayed up. I mean? She does every morning. I know that anyway, but she comes out of the war room into here, and it's like Smile City. She don't care about nothing going on, and yeah, she does. I know she does, but
this morning I was paying some bills, so you can say I'm all paid up.
Well, okay. Well, I think we are too. I put any more. There's so many things going on. I put everything on auto pay. It's just make sure it's done through whatever regular bills you got, electricity, internet, all that kind of stuff. It's do online and click. Oh, auto pay? You bet. And so you don't even get behind in your bills, but yeah, good deal.
There you are.
Wow, that was pretty good. We should take a shot of that, because you were like,
for
It was great.
about 20 seconds.
Wow.
I know.
We were, though. We were
I mean,
still alive.
We couldn't have done that even and if we tried to do that. We couldn't. It was perfect.
That was strange.
I love it.
You know something, Mark, are we not, because we're talking about the wilderness, during Torah study among friends. And to me, it's like we're on this journey, and if we read the wilderness part of the scriptures, we'll say, oh, you mean we have to go through the wilderness too?
Oh.
I thought our forefathers went through it for us.
Yeah.
No, but I think that we're just, I tell me it's changing you. I mean, I know all of this is changing us. We are going through constant changes and you were saying, kind of just be like the way it was. Well, we have to go through these changes. And I have to say prayer works because I pray before I come on the war room. I'm up an hour before I come on and pray. And praise and prayer works. It works because it's like our journey is the kingdom. We're looking at what the world's doing. We have to look at it from above and say, this is.
I like that. Praise, prayer, and maybe proclamation. We probably should do
I've been there, done that.
Oh, that was great, though. That was
buy the T-shirt, and
I think that was Adina's. That was Adina's revelation, and that was awesome.
It was.
Yeah. But it worked.
Well, I agree with you. As a matter of fact, I think we all agree and proclaim it is that without praise and prayer and proclamation, we would not make it through this. I wouldn't. I have told Adina many times that, it's a good thing you came along and helped me stay stable in my walk with the Lord, because most likely I'd be in prison right now or something, or in a worse shape than what I am, because I was not a wonderful human being, before committing my life to the Lord, and her being in my life was huge on solidifying all that. So I thank God every day, not only for that walk, but for my wife. She still keeps me in line. It's not as hard, I don't think, but life changes. And, Bob did say many years ago, the times they are a-changing. And as a matter of fact, I just heard that song not too long ago and listened to every word. That song could be written today and every word apply to what, it said. That's one of the most timeless songs on the planet. Bob, man, Sherry, what's happening?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, right now the wind's not blowing and the sun is shining. Maybe I can stay connected for a while. They're still working on that tower out there, so they'll get it up eventually. I think he's going to wait for Bob to get back so they can put the big old pole in there and push it up.
Uh-huh.
By the time we get through, I think it's going to be about 70 feet.
Well,
if it don't, oh well.
And close enough that your internet will be very powerful. So
it's right outside this window here.
Oh, how wonderful. Yeah, how wonderful.
But yeah, you were talking about prayer and everything. That's part of and I know this show is about the Constitution, but it's also about our country. And we're to be salt and light. And we are priests. It says that Yeshua has made us a kingdom of priests. That is present tense. We are priests. And it is part of our job as priests to stand before our great high priest and make intercession for our country and for those around us. So that's the prayer, praise, and proclamation that we do. That's our sacrifices that we bring unto the Lord. And it's a huge job. And if we are priests, we need to be working. And that's part of our, we're going to stand responsible, because if we're not standing before him, this earth can really fall off the precipice. And I think that it was a prayer of God's people who humbled themselves before them. And my personal opinion, not Messianic Lamb Network, that's why Trump defeated Hillary Clinton, because I know where I was, and I went in there and I got down on my knees and I said, Father, you raise up kings and you put down kings. Blessed be the name of the Lord, because I was convinced Hillary Clinton was going to win. And I like to fell out of my chair when they said Trump won. I went, what? And I was going like, praise God, praise God.
I remember.
Anything was better than her, Jezebel.
Right.
But anyway, that's part of our commitment, and that's great that you and part of our commitment as wives to our husbands is that we support them.
Amen.
And we're a good influence. We're not Midianite women. We're Hebrew women, and we support our husbands and encourage them in the walk. And in fact, and I may bring this up. I don't know if I'm going to do it on God out of the box or whatever, but we always say a virtuous woman. Well, if you look that word up, is Chayil, which is also used in connection with where it's translated David's mighty men, that women are warrior women. So that's a very cool. We are called to be warriors for our husbands, and our wife and a husband are allies. We have an alliance with them. So ladies out there, if you're fighting with your husband, you're fighting with your allies. Men out there, if you're fighting with your wives, you're fighting with your allies. Allies are supposed to work together.
Amen.
Sorry, that's not the Constitution.
No, actually, it does. It works. It works quite well with it, because we are supposed to be allied together, working with the Constitution being our stability, holding all of that, all the allies together. I was going to say, though, that it's like, matter of fact, there have been a lot of people that have brought it up in public forums. Do you remember where you were on 9/11? And it's like, of all of the seconds in our time, minutes and days of the years we've lived, that is one date where pretty much everybody remembers where they were on 9/11. And I would almost venture to say that we all remember where we were when we got up the next morning and heard that Trump had won the election. I do. I remember getting up and Nadina saying, Trump won. And I think even though all of us were praying him in, we were in shock. It's just anyway.
I remember I worked in capital markets finance, and we lost. Our guys went to funerals it was, nobody knows how close, unless you're in the financial markets, how very close our country came to falling at that time, because what happened is Europe kicked in, and they worked all night in Europe to keep the money flowing. And if they hadn't of, the whole world would have been done for in a financial crisis.
Right.
And I also remember when I got up to pray that morning, it was like total silence in heaven. I'm not going to go to it on the show here, but if you ever do interviews like that, I have a very interesting story. But it was total silence, and I kept asking Lord, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And then on the way to work, I heard. So it was, and there were other people who experienced that silence, and then were given the same scriptures. So
right. Yeah, it's there are specific things in history that we remember were and speaking of that, I think it's quite historic that we on a religious network station are talking about the Constitution. But we've talked about this before, how the our Constitution, our way of life, our halakha is Torah. That is the way we walk, because that first is the most important thing in our lives. But we also live in the United States, the greatest country in the world, and it has a constitution that is very well written, and that's why we're talking about it. We're trying to do as much correlation to Torah as we can. with it as we go along. And up until this point, we have talked about Article 1, Section 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like I said before, for some reason, we only seem to get through one section a show. But as I've been looking over this, I want to make sure, let me put this in the chat. I'm using, for the most part, I am using a website called Annenberg Classroom. And so there's the link if you want to follow along with us. It's a very good outline of each different article and section and amendment and all that. And they give a little bit of history sometimes if they have it. I have come up in my research, I have come up with a couple of other places. There's one called constitutingamerica.org. constitutingamerica.org. Let me copy that real quick and throw that in there also. This seems to have some really good things in it. There's another one called Schmoop. I don't know what all that means. I haven't done much research on who they are, but they've got some really good things to say in explanations about the Constitution. So I have been doing some research on the different articles, the article sections that we're talking about to get a little better perspective, because once again, like I said before, I'm probably the least versed on the Constitution of all of us. But that's one of the reasons I want to do this show, is to learn about this, do the research on it. Otherwise, I would just fill my time with other things and I wouldn't search this out. But to do a show forces me to look it up. And also the three of you this is a little perk that I'm finding that I didn't know about the three of you, is the three of you know quite a little bit about these different things. At least you fooled me if you don't, because you sort of seem to me like you know some things about this. And of course, James O'Hare over here has actually done like an entire college course on this, and has got a degree in constitutionalism that really does help with all of this. So BS, whatever. Anyway, okay, we're going to go to Article 1, Section 5. I'm going to read the text. Anything anybody else has to say before we get started? Okay. Yeah.
As usual, I'm thankful you're doing this. I have to say it every week.
Sure, you bet.
Because especially in the light or the darkness of what's going on in the world, this is a light. And this really needs to be, I mean, I share it with all my social media and then some, because people need to hear it. And it's, it's not complaining as much as it's being observant. I mean, there are issues taking place in the world that are not pleasant. They're very disturbing, as you were saying, Mark. But on the flip side of it is, behind the scenes, if you will, we have a mighty Elohim, the creator of heaven and earth, who is also working in and through what's going on. And that surfaces every now and then. And the enemy doesn't like it. The enemy doesn't like it at all. So it raises its ugly head. So for you doing this, to me, it's a spiritual eye opener to what's happening here right on planet Earth for such a time as this. I had to say that. For such a time.
I really do appreciate it, and I thank all of you guys for joining me. So let's do it. Article 1, Section 5, the text. Each house shall be the judge of the elections, returns, and qualifications of its own members, and a majority of each shall constitute a quorum to do business. But a smaller number may adjourn from day to day and may be authorized to compel the attendance of absent members in such manner and under such penalties as each house may provide. Each house may determine the rules of its proceedings, punish its members for disorderly behavior, and with the concurrence of 2/3, expel a member. Each house shall keep a journal of its proceedings and from time to time publish the same, excepting such parts as may be in their judgment requires secrecy. And the yeas and nays of the members of either house on any question shall, at the desire of 1/5 of those present, be entered on the journal. Neither house during the session of Congress shall, without the consent of the other, adjourn for more than 3 days, nor to any other place than that in which the two houses shall be sitting. Now, let me just say, on first reading of this, as with almost all of these, on first reading, it's like, so what? With me, it's like, it's almost like the very first time before I became Messianic reading the book of Leviticus. It's like, you read these things and it's almost like, so what? You know, what is the deal? But the more you get into it and get the meat of what's really being said, just like Leviticus. I mean, Leviticus is now, I remember the first time I read it, it's like, what? But now it's my favorite book, you know, because of the meat that's in there. And I mean, it's not so much with this. I mean, not as much as that, but I mean, there are several. Let's talk about the what's really happening today, which is real interesting to me. That and oh my gosh, where did I put it? I've had it up, but I said, oh, here we go. I sent out an email because somebody had sent me. I know. My congressman had sent. I get an email from him every day, and I'm sure all you guys got this email from me. But it was last week. I had asked the question, why don't all the representatives of the House and the senators show up to do their votes? This is their job. They get paid for this. If we didn't show up for our job, at least maybe twice, we'd get fired, you know. But they, of course, by even what I just read right there, they actually take care of their own. We're not allowed to go in there and fire them for it. But I asked this question, and then here, my own senator who doesn't, I don't think not my senator, my representative of the district I'm in, doesn't watch the show, I'm pretty sure. But yet, during one of his emails, he sends this email about Nancy Pelosi, and I know you guys have your own wonderful name for her. And I'm just going to read the first part of it. It says, for the first time in history, the House rules were changed without any consultation with the minority party. In addition to being unconstitutional, this sets a very bad precedent for the institution as a whole. What's the rule change? It allows Speaker Pelosi to vote for other members of the House without having a quorum present. The absence of a quorum is the unconstitutional part. And here we are, right here in Article 1, Section 5, today, and it was talking about, and a majority of each shall constitute a quorum to do business. And I mean, is this like present day stuff happening or what? And it's so interesting to me that So I decided to do a little research, and I want you all to respond to this because I'm real interested in this. So I did my own research on this, and of course, the 2020 report cards of all the representatives and all the senators, of course, are not in until next year. But you can literally go to govtrack.us, govtrack.us, and you can get report cards on all the representatives, all the senators, for every year. It reports on what the percentages of votes each legislator missed in 2019 is what I was interested in, because it's the latest look here. As a matter of fact, I've got this up, so let me just put this in. You guys can go take a look at it with me. Let me throw it in there. And there it goes, and there it goes. So if you go to that, this just blew me away. This blew me away. It has every one of them, all, my gosh, 85, oh my gosh, it's got more than that. So many different senators and the percentage of votes each legislator missed in 2019. Now, I want you to look at the very top one is Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, missed 64.7% of the votes. What? Now look right underneath that. Senator Bernard Sanders of Vermont missed 63.3% of the stinking votes. Now, if I lived in Vermont and New Jersey, it's like I'd be, what? Hey, you guys, what's the deal on all this? And so anyway, you can click on their names and look. And so I clicked on the top guy, Senator Cory Booker's 2019 report card. He doesn't have a very good report card. I mean, it's all up and down here. I read all kinds of. Booker missed 64.7% of votes, 277 and 428 votes, was most absent in votes compared to all senators. What am I missing here, James O'Hare?
Well, just in defense of Cory, the Booker man, I mean, I too used to not have good reports cards. When I was in school. So
okay,
absenteeism was quite frequent. It was only because I was looking for a better school. I was in that one school, but I said, no, I'm going to find another because I want to be part of something and some leadership of another school. So I went and started campaigning at other schools. And because I was doing that, I didn't get quite a good report card from that first school I was really supposed to be in, but I was all over the place. So Mr. Cory, the Booker man, did, I mean, that's what I love about the Senate and the House. They get to look for other jobs while they still have their other job.
Yeah, but they can't take them. It says right here.
Paid for it full time. That is obscene.
In Article 6, here we're going to go to, it says you can't take another job while you're in the House.
He was running for office, though. He was running for office, and so that's what they do. They run for another position. They run for president.
Yeah, because that's true. That's true. And
Bernie Sanders, I get it. I don't care. I really don't care. It's your job. We put you in there to vote. Stinking vote. You should be there you should never miss one unless your mother died. I don't know. But so seriously, what am I missing here? I don't accept your answer at all. There, that's all there is to it.
I don't accept it either. I mean, but what can you do about it? Because that's what they do. They every 4 years. Well, actually, it's every whatever it is.
No,
they think they are better than they are, and they say, "Oh, I can run for president." So you get 25 people running for president. Most of them come from either the House or the Senate. Some of them are governors that are still governing in their states or whatever. But some are the right way of doing it. They are, either self-contained or whatever in their finances, and they can do that. But I think it's obscene. I've never liked seeing our politicians that are supposed to be representing us, the people, we the people, and they're out there, touting. And then when they lose, but the funny thing is, when they lose, what they do is they go then campaigning for their supposedly winner in their party, and they're out of the picture.
So let's take Bernie Sanders, who is running for. Did Booker run for president?
Yeah, Booker ran too.
Oh, he did.
He was.
Oh my gosh! So I'm in a public place here, and he's saying I would raise my hand and say, Booker, why should I want you as president? You didn't even vote. You didn't even. I mean, a fourth of the votes barely did you do. What? Why would I want you as president?
That's what people should be saying. That's what they should be saying, Mark.
They're not looking.
Your job. You are playing hooky from what we're paying you to do, and yet you're using our money to fly all over the United States.
Yeah.
Run for president. I don't trust you. You're not a hard worker.
There was one. I just got to say one quick thing, and I admire this man for doing this, even though up to the nomination, he was still the Senate majority leader. But Bob Dole, once he became the nominee, even though he was a great guy, but not a great candidate. But even though when he became the nominee, he resigned from the Senate.
Okay.
I mean, he could have stayed in there. I don't think he was up for re-election. So he could have stayed, and he probably would have been reelected. And if he lost, like Joe Lieberman, when he was vice president, he didn't resign from the Senate, and he wasn't up for election. Oh no, he was up for election, and he was still on the ballot. So he got 2 votes, one for vice president, one for Senate. He won the Senate, lost the vice president. Hallelujah! But he got to stay in the Senate.
Well, don't they have to raise their right hand and say, "I will do my job, so help me God"? I mean, wasn't that in my intro here? So help me God, so help me God, so help me God. I will uphold the Constitution. So help me God, so help me God. Of course, in the Constitution, it doesn't say I have to be there at my job and I have to do all the votes. As a matter of fact, the Constitution literally says, well, if you can't make it because the new Star Wars movie is out at the theater, then that's going to be showing at the same time we're going to do the vote. It's okay. You don't have to go vote on that. Doesn't the Constitution basically say that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But think about the context of the time when they were in. They didn't have the cars and the planes and all that kind of stuff. So it would make sense that they wouldn't have to be in Washington in a full-time capacity as they're supposed to be now. But they do these things. And so back then, you have to go horseback. You have to go, it takes a long time, from Massachusetts to Washington by horseback. It takes a couple of weeks or whatever it is. Now you can do it in an hour's flight, whatever it is.
Well, the president has to move into the White House when he becomes president. If you're going to take a job in the Senate or the House of Representatives, move there. Be there for your stinking job.
I agree. I mean, they're making $180,000 a year anyway.
Duh.
And they have a pension too.
And do they pay for their food when they're in the Congress? I don't think so. I mean, I think they get all the catering in there and all that kind of stuff. They can't get bribes, They might take them, but they can't get the bribe. But you know.
Okay, I'm upset now. Sherry, bring me down.
No, I'm fixing to spiral you up to the third heaven.
She can do it too.
Number one, there is supposed to be a quorum present, right? We discussed that last week, and it's also in the article. It's in the section that we're discussing today. You read that earlier. There's supposed to be a quorum. And a quorum, for those of that out there who don't know, it's a minimum number of representatives that are supposed to be present in order to have a vote.
Right.
Not minimum number of who's supposed to be there, but in order to have a vote, you have to have so many members. And if if there's no vacancies, then in the House there's 435 members, and 218 have to be present in order to have a vote. Well, now the Democrats up there have pulled a fast one on the people of America, and if we don't rise up, anyway.
Democrats?
Huh?
Democrats? I haven't heard.
Democrats, that's what they are, Democrats. I mean, look at everything they stand for. Isn't that just like the devil? The Democrats up there, and they're slick. They're slick. You got to watch them. But anyway, they now have put, because they can set how they run Congress, which this article gives them the jurisdiction to do, then they have come up with a new House rule that allows Nancy Pelosi to vote the vote of the missing members in the House of Representatives. So they don't even have to go to Washington. Why bother to even go to Washington? Just stay home and give all your votes to Nancy Pelosi. I'm going to tell you, if we had a Democratic representative in the House, I would seriously consider getting someone like Jay Sekulow or something to represent me and sue them, because I did not vote for Nancy Pelosi. I voted for whoever I sent up there. The state will rise up and sue them or sue somebody and bring it to the Supreme Court, because we did not vote for Nancy Pelosi. And she doesn't have the right to take, when I don't agree with her, I can't call her office and complain. She's using that vote. That's wrong. We, the people in this state, did not elect Nancy Pelosi to vote for our desires. So that right there, it ought to be ruled out, thrown out. It's unconstitutional.
Right.
And that's what I meant. They're Democrats. They think they're slick, and they pulled some other stuff too. There's enough technology, if they're afraid, and I mean, who's to say that the people she's voting for have even heard the arguments? So she's voting by proxy. Well, how do I know she's voting what they told her to vote?
And even how do you know she's the one doing the voting too? So
yeah. And another slick thing they pulled, if you look at Alabama in the last election in 2018, between Doug Jones and
the other guy,
Moore, they actually started a bunch of scandal on him that really wasn't true. They twisted the facts. And so Doug Jones got in, first Democrat since the early 1990s. And I have heard that on some of the things that the people in Alabama were telling him to vote no, his people were hanging up on the people calling in, and he's just doing what he wants. So, it's, payday's coming someday, whether it's in this life or in God's time, so that's what I mean when I'm saying it is a spiritual battle, but it is also a physical battle. We have to get out there and do our part. God's not going to do for us what we don't do for ourselves. And my prayer is that things will happen that will mobilize the people of God to come up and vote these rascals out and put in the ones that God can use.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do as a people of God. That's what I meant. We're salt and light. Well, we have stood, oh, well, there's no need. I met people, they're complaining about the government. Did you vote? Well, no. Well, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
evil flourishes when good men do nothing. And I know some of the decisions have been hard, and you choose the lesser of two evils,
Yeah.
in the hopes that there'll be enough people rise up and say, I know you think this way, but this is how we think. And if they'll follow what the people want. So it's a whole big thing out there. But, that's what we call them down here is the Democrats. That ought to be popular on the internet. Democrats, they're the Democrats. They act like a bunch of demons up there. And a demon is someone who deceives you. That's why they're Democrats.
Yeah.
So Democrats out.
Let's take it to a Torah-based, congregation or something that is, or a church, that is very well established and that type of thing. What if the people that are in authority just showed up every once in a while? It's the same thing with us and Torah. Should we just show up every once in a while and take a look at it? And I mean, look right here on the Lamb Network. What if only a fourth of the people decided to show up for their shows? It's the same kind of the same thing. But anyway, so Abigail, what do you think?
The problem is, it has to do with the mindset. See, the mindset of the Democrats, we call it up there. That's what we call it up here in this little place where we live. Their mindset there's no justice in their mindset. There's no righteousness in their mindset. Their mindset is filled with pride. It's all about themselves. And we went to a Trump rally when he was running, just this past summer. And we went there. We were like, we had no idea what we were going to expect at a Trump rally, considering, and we're talking about people and where their mindset is. And when we went there, we never saw such a unity of people. And I mean, there were thousands of people waiting outside for hours to see Donald Trump, President Trump. And they were from all over. And it was amazing how we all had a singleness of purpose. We never met these people. We stood in line and we started talking with them, and we were in unity with righteousness. We were in unity with getting the job done. And that's what President Trump has exemplified, getting the job done. He's a servant. He's not a dictator. And the problem with what we're seeing now, and it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. We're paying for their jobs. They have a pension. If any one of them left today, they would have a very healthy pension that they would take with them. If they were there, how long? Even one day, if they were hired one day, how long is it before their pension goes into action? I think there was one senator or someone that was there for I'm going to say maybe a week. And when he left, he got the pension. How many of us would get that kind? And it's the taxpayers that are paying for this. So they're all, and one thing that our forefathers very seldom ever got was money for their service. They did it out of love for their country. George Washington never took a penny. And so here we have all these people that weren't even hired. They were elected. They weren't hired by us. They were elected by their other people. So like mind, like kind, they elected them because they knew, like the $1 trillion bill that's trying to get pushed through with Bella Pelosi. So that $1 trillion bill,
3 trillion.
3 trillion. Yeah. 3 trillion. Hello. Sorry. I left out the other two. My goodness. I hear 1 trillion and my mind goes, 1 trillion. But the bottom line is this: they're serving mammon. They're serving mammon. Everything is about their money, their kingdom. They're building their own kingdom. And so you can see the contrast between the people that voted for President Trump and the others. The people that voted for President Trump were hard workers, like you were talking about, Mark. They have a job, they go to the work, and they roll up their sleeves. They were people that would say, some people would say to me, you're being laid off, so why don't you take food stamps? And the man that has his own business says, I appreciate the offer, but I like to work. And he was like 75 years old, and he says, I want to roll up my sleeves. I have a business. I have people that work with me. We work together. We put food on the table and a roof over our head. See, that's the mindset of the American Constitution. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It's working. It's rolling up your sleeves and saying, I'm thankful I'm alive. I'm thankful I have something to contribute to this nation. And I am so happy to be present. I'm so happy to be a senator, the ones that are on that side. I'm so thankful I'm here. I hear your cries out there, people. I know what you need, and I'm here to vote so that you can get what you need, not what you want, not the greedy part of it, but what you need. And there's such a different mindset, and that's what we're all about. It says in Romans, don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So we need to have the mind of Messiah, the Word, because I'm telling you right now, these people don't. They're actually involved in a lot of occult activities. They're involved in a lot of witchcraft. They have a lot of serious activities that go on in their own personal lives, and they talk about it. They don't hide it. They're very bold about it. So we're talking a spiritual battle. That's why they don't have any accountability, and everybody does it. Oh, Bella Pelosi can stay off, and she doesn't want to come back to work until when? July? She doesn't want to open up the House, the Senate until July, right?
That's right, July.
July.
They're scheduled to come back in July.
And there's been all this things that's going on where we needed votes and everything. And then she gets on the air and says, I don't know why President Trump is taking so long in working. Excuse me? I mean, we should get on with this. There's people that are starving. There's people that need this and need that. Yeah, they need your ice cream, Bella Pelosi. Get your ice cream with the rest of us minions, So she lives in a gated area. She has all kinds of Secret Service people, and yet she comes against having guns. She wants to get rid of the, is it the First Amendment? Second Amendment. First Amendment is speech. Yeah. In worship. She wants to get rid of the Second Amendment. But she has a gated place, and she has her own jet or whatever. I'm just saying, it's such a debauchery.
Debauchery. That's good.
It really is. It is just such a. To me, if I could meet these people in person, I would definitely give them a piece of my mind. Yeah. I would not hold back. I would definitely have the video going. I would not hold back, because they all are. They're just, and everybody's afraid to speak up except for President Trump. And actually, I should say, there's a lot of people that are not backward about being forward, but they're demonic. They're liars. They're accusers. They're manipulators. What spirit does that come from? That sounds like Hasatan to me.
Well, Ralph here has a good question. How can we audit them and hold them accountable? For one thing, like what I posted earlier with the report card, you can go on there and see what each one of them are doing. And let me post that again. That's one way that you can audit them, as far as I'm concerned. But what's a way we can keep them accountable? I mean, it's the same story as we've always known, is that, we have to stand up, let our voice be heard. We have to, contact them and tell them we don't like the fact that you're doing this. But unless they only listen to a large amount of people, they don't listen to each one of us individually. Just because I get a hold of them by myself, I get lost in all the hundreds of million other things that people have to say, and emails, and other things that are there. That's the way I feel about it. I don't know that that's true, but I do know that if you get 100,000 of your constituents to all stand up and say, you missed 64% of the votes, what's the deal on that? I mean, I don't like that. I want you out of there. I want somebody in there that's going to vote every time, type thing. That's the only answer that I can give to how we hold them accountable publicly. I mean, I'm doing the best I can right now with having a show where we can sit here and gripe about it, but I don't know what else to do.
So you can vote them out, and we need to also vote in a shorter term.
Yeah,
a shorter term. These people have been in there for years.
Yeah.
People keep voting them in.
Yeah.
We need revival. We need to pray for revival, that people will wake up, and that there will be a revival so that people's minds and hearts are changed, and they see the truth from the lies, and the manipulation and the deception from the lies. Because unless a person's heart is changed, they're going to keep voting for the same type of people. I mean, there's Okay, go ahead,
I get you're saying the constituents, unless we change and everything, because I just don't know that those people that don't show up for their job, if you complain about it, are they going to even care? They know they're not showing up for their job. They know they're not there for 64% of those votes. So anyway, James, go ahead.
No, you're right. They don't care. They don't know, because they're not accountable to anyone. I mean, the Constitution says that they're accountable to us, but unfortunately, I remember we had a speaker of the House of Representatives from Massachusetts named Tip O'Neill, way back during Reagan's presidency. And he was famously quoted for saying that all politics is local. And that's very true. And the problem is, everyone hates the government. Everyone hates the Congress. Everyone has low marks and, all that kind of stuff for that. But yet they still continually vote the same people in over and over. I mean, we had Ted Kennedy here, who should never have been voted in because of what happened at Chappaquiddick. But Teflon, it just rolled off. Everyone hid their face. No one cared. They liked the Kennedys. Vote him in. And then once he got voted in, he was there for next term until he died in office. So we see that continually in the local politics for the congressional houses, for the Senate, and they have this determination of no one really cares. Only 50% of the people vote, and that's usually only during presidential elections. Very, very seldom does it go much higher than that. And during off-term elections, it's a lot lower than that. So you're looking at who is at fault. Are they at fault, or are we at fault? And when I say we, I'm talking about collectively, because I think most people that might be listening to this show are more actively involved in government, know a little bit more about what's going on, of what's happening. So that, I think, is the biggest thing, is that we are not doing our job by keeping them accountable, by writing to them, because you can write to them, and they will listen somewhat. It depends on, but they will listen somewhat if enough people.
That's my point.
If 10 people write something, then they're thinking that each 10 is like 1,000 votes. In terms of, because other people just aren't saying it, but they're thinking it, so they're looking at it a little bit more closely. But we're in the People's Republic of Massachusetts here. It's a one-state party. They keep on voting. I mean, we don't have any Republican Congress people here. We don't have any Republican senators. We have a rhino for a governor, but it's weird with I don't know why they do this, but it's like a 70-30 for Republicans and Democrats, 70-30 in the state legislatures. So it's very democratically controlled, but yet occasionally you get a Republican governor who has to work with them. But the guy that's in there now, Charlie Baker, is just really nothing more than, I mean, he's an never Trumper, and he is just basically just doing what they want him to do anyway. So,
well, if you don't have any Republicans in office there, why aren't you running?
I run every day. I mean, away from them.
Whatever. Seriously, wow.
Can I just add one little thing to what? Because I believe a lot of the problems are bribes. There's a lot of bribes. There's a lot of things.
No.
I know, and you know what a bribe is. I know, but a bribe blinds the people. And so the bottom line is, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of power that goes on behind the scenes.
Amen.
And they are putting certain people in office because there's another manipulative power, and this is not conspiracy. This is a fact that is has one agenda, and that is to destroy America and to make it a one world government, to make it this one world government. And so that's what when President Trump got in office, he talked about draining the swamp. People had what are you saying, draining the swamp? There are literally swamp creatures who are trying to destroy America. And he found out. He stirred the pot, and he got these swamp creatures riled, and we saw their faces and their tongues wagging, and we saw the time was spent on trying to impeach President Trump and expose things that weren't even there. And there was all this manipulative bribes and power that was going on behind the scenes. It is being exposed. There's more exposure and more exposure. The key is, are people listening and seeing? I know there are some people. We've been praying against that this would be exposed, and that we are praying against the evil force that's trying to destroy America. But
Amen.
What?
No, can I just say one quick thing? Because first of all, I just want to do a shout out to Ralph.
Yes.
Ralph is a precious brother. We met him in Oregon.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Sweet brother.
Very sweet. Yes.
And he did. And I love what he just said there, that he prays for our leaders. And that's what we need to do. We need to pray, both Democrat and Republican, independent, conservative, liberal. We need to pray for each other. But he made a great point, because in Massachusetts, and this is what happens here too, is when we go to the polls to vote, a lot of times there might be, like I said, we're Democrat strong on everything, every single candidate in
Democrat
office.
Strong?
Massachusetts. Yeah.
Not us.
No. But they're all Democrats, but they're so entrenched in there and been in there such a long time that not even a Republican will go against them. Very seldom will we see the two candidates. They're usually unopposed. That is wrong.
Yeah, real wrong. That's why I say, why aren't you running for office, James O'Hare?
Well, when that happens, though, I usually get at least one vote, because
well, you know what? God's on your side. God's on your side. God's on your side.
I write him in all the time. Trust me, I write him in all the time.
You write him in
all the time. Yes, I say he's and there's some Republicans that did run for office and got in like on a local level. They've even expressed to us how it is so controlling. It's just very controlling, and there is behind the scenes in all states. There's a power that's trying to destroy America.
Sherry.
Well, I think you started it out right when you were saying, I swear by God, so help me God, so help me God. The problem is they're their own God. That's always been man's problem. They're their own God. They decide what's right and wrong. They're not worshiping the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They're not going by scriptural principles. At least before, even if the people weren't really committed to that, the politicians knew that there were enough Christians in this country that would not vote for them unless they profess that, unless they behave themselves. Now they don't have any fear of the people other than our guns, but they don't have any fear of the people. They want to do what they want to do. And just like there's no integrity, and the mindset about abortion for years, you'll have somebody in politics, even if they were Republican, they waffled about abortion. Okay. I'm going to tell you, when Trump got my firm vote, when he was on there with Hillary Clinton in that debate, and she was standing up there proudly saying, well, I think a woman, it's okay for a woman to have an abortion. And he spoke up and interrupted her. And he said, it's not okay with me.
Wow.
And I thought, you got my vote, because you're not scared to stand up and say what your convictions are, what you believe. The rest of them are little waffly weasels that don't have enough guts to stand up for what they believe. And that's what we've been seeing. A lot of this is even in the Republicans. If you voted for a Republican, they still would vote, for certain abortions, or not vote against abortion. And so they're just little weasels. They're gutless. They don't have any guts. They're too scared of losing their job. And it ought not to be a job. It ought to be a privilege. In Texas, they don't give them a salary. One of the state senators was on there, or one of the state legislature guys, and I didn't realize it. They get like $1,000 a year or something like that. I forget what it was, but they don't give them a big salary to serve in the state. He said, no, I'm a small business owner and my business is shut and it's affecting me. Guess who was one of the first ones to open? With the legislature and the governor. They were feeling the pinch on their own small businesses. It made a difference in their mindset. So they never have to pay the price in Congress. They're immune. They vote in laws and things like that they don't have to do. They didn't have to have Obamacare, but they put it off on us. And if you want to see, if you want to see how they view, just look at what Cuomo did. Instead of, they had that big, huge ship there. They had all these people in the nursing home that have come down diagnosed with COVID-19. And instead of sending them or keeping them in the hospital or sending them to that ship, they sent them back to the nursing homes to kill the rest of the people in the nursing homes. And there were people that went and got their loved ones out of the nursing homes and took them home and still paid the nursing home fees to protect their loved ones. And, and I don't know if everybody heard his comment. He said, well, when you have a pandemic like this, somebody's going to die. Somebody has to die. That was his mindset. That is their mindset. They want to wipe out all the old people because they're a drain. If you're not productive, they want to kill you, and they will do it any way they can. And they want to keep down the population, because if there's enough of us born that can remove them from office, then that's what they're scared of. That's why they're killing the babies. So all of this is geared to keep them in power. And one of my prayers, I know I talk about sometimes how I pray, but one of my prayers is, like on Pelosi, she's a wicked woman. God remove her. Let her have no leaders. A king without a leader has no power. Remove her, take away her power. Because you know what's really scary, and people hadn't thought this? If they get rid of Trump and they get rid of Pence, guess who's the next president of the United States? Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. If you, I mean, that's scary. That really is scary.
I got no response to that whatsoever. I do.
I was ranting. I'm sorry. I was
No,
ranting.
no,
But-
that's what this is all about. That's what we're supposed to do here. That's it.
Well, you just
That's
you made a comment too about them having all these jobs and stuff. Well, about a congregation that only, the leaders showed up, nobody else showed up and all that. Well, I wouldn't put my tithe in that. I wouldn't put my support in that. I wouldn't send them any support. Unfortunately, we don't have that choice as American people because they take our tax money and support them. And that was one of the big things that they were talking about. And it makes sense. California has done everything wrong. New York has done everything wrong. Their budgets don't balance. They have messed up. Why should the people in the states whose legislature has balanced their budget send our money to bail those rascals out? Cut their money off. Cut it off. If you go under, oh, well, so sad, too bad. Hey, you have to declare bankruptcy in the state. You don't have firemen. You don't have policemen. You don't have city services. Maybe that will teach them a lesson, but they have no consequences. Mm-hmm. That's the issue. Yeah. There's no consequences for what they're doing. So they're brass. They're bold as brass, as my grandma used to say. They're just bold as brass.
Well said, Sherry. Very, very well said. And I, at this point, based on what she had just said, I want to bring up that James and Abigail did a segment on the Sunday Let Us Reason Together show called Abortion Funded in Light of COVID Deaths. That was exceptionally good. And I'm going to throw that in the chat there. So you can look that up. It should have gone in both. Sorry. Let's sorry about that. Anyway, a good article by them. It'll be up on the website today. But you can, if you go to the Lamb Network YouTube channel, you'll find it. It was uploaded last night, but very good. Okay, well, anything? Yeah. Last words here because we're winding down. So go ahead, Sherry.
Just one comment on abortion. Abortion is because people don't want to pay the consequences. They want to get out of the consequences. And abortion is actually worse on you than having a baby. And I think that if they started showing the movie Unplanned, in all these colleges and even in high school, I think they ought to make it required viewing in high school so that they, they can see exactly what goes on. And it's horrible. It's horrible. My big old river captain husband, leader of men, macho guy, he broke down and cried in that movie.
Yeah,
I couldn't watch it. I watched it like this because I knew what was coming. But a lot of times I do that. But I opened my eyes and looked at him, and tears were streaming down his face over what he cries today when he talks about it.
That movie Unplanned, you can watch for free if you have Amazon Prime or Hulu. It is on there. You can look it up and watch it. So very good. All right, Abigail, you're ready to give us some last words here.
Yeah, I'm just in light of everything we've been discussing, and we the people have to take a responsibility. We can't do responsibility for Nancy Bella Pelosi or Shifty Shift or any of the other ones that are trying to rob, kill, and destroy America. And there's so much going on concerning what was
that? Go ahead.
Was that Bella Pelosi coming after me?
Yeah, no, it wasn't.
But I say we the people, and I'm going to make a statement that we need to take a real concerted effort to keep President Trump in office, because if he doesn't get in office, America is in big trouble. This is a refuge for us. America is our refuge until we go back to the land, until we go back to our destination. And you talk about abortion, Sherry. It's horrible. It is just absolutely. James and I do so many cryings over this. It's horrible. I mean, we weep and we weep for the unborn lives, but there's also child sacrifices that are taking place. Child sacrifices. You know, you hear of all these missing children all the time. And it's more than just it's just there's a lot of things that are happening that there's such an evil thing. It's like that Moloch, you know, that the god of Moloch that would sacrifice children and everything. And we just have this an evil darkness that is permeating United States of America. We are the light and we are the salt, but we need to be the light. We need to speak out. We cannot be backward about being forward. We have to be very forward, very strong, and very determined. When we talk to people, we have to say, we're talking about life and preserving life. If we want to preserve life and we want to see our grandchildren grow up and experience what this nation was founded on, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it really does matter who we put in office. It really does matter. Don't think, so what? Whoever gets in office, they're all politicians. That's not true. That is not true. And I believe President Trump was put in office for such a time as this because he loves America. He's thankful for what America has done for him. And we can't look at what any man has done in the past. We have to look at where his heart is right now. His heart right now is a servant. He serves the people. He serves we the people. So I have to put that plug in. It's only because I love America. I'm thankful for America. And for years I would say to James, when Obama was in, I said, I don't even recognize this as America. I don't recognize this as America. This is not the America that I grew up in. And now with everything that's going on, I see a glimpse of America trying to raise its, come to light again. But I've never seen such ugliness as you presented, Mark, in the beginning. Such ugliness, such deception, such manipulation, such darkness. And so we, the people, we need to take a stand. We need to take a stand and be strong and of good courage. I can't say it enough.
Amen. Mr. O'Hare.
Okay, just quickly, just to finalize the section 5 here. It says that each house, the Congress or the Senate, has the right to punish its members for disorderly behavior. And I thought of that, and there was 2 examples. If you remember I think he was a congressman. I think he was a congressman from Iowa. Stephen King, and he mentioned or questioned why white supremacy had become an offensive term. So he just kind of said that off the cuff, and he was disciplined. He was a head of a committee at that time. He got stripped of all his all the things that he just basically became a non-existent member because the Republicans disciplined him. Contrast with when Ilhan Omar from where's she from? Michigan? No.
Michigan.
Where's Ilhan Omar from?
I think she's from Michigan.
Michigan? Yeah, I think she is. Is she Michigan? No. Well, where? No, Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota. Yeah,
Minnesota.
We got the M.
I got the M right. Minnesota. I haven't talked about her in such a long time. I forgot, which is not a bad thing.
We don't like to talk about her.
But when she made some really bad anti-Semitic comments about Israel, about the whole 9 yards, there was a real uproar to censure her for doing that. And then they came up with this bill, not a bill, but the censure whatever they call it, the censure writings. And what did it do? It talked about neo-Nazism. It talked about in Charlottesville. It talked about mass shooting of African-American churchgoers in Charleston, South Carolina, all bad things. The massacre of Jewish members in a synagogue in Pittsburgh, an attack on mosques. So it went into this whole thing, and it never mentioned her name. It was all about her, but no, it never mentioned her name. It got so watered down. So we are in such a partisan time. It's really sad in a lot of ways. Now, believe me, if you read anything about the early colonial politicians coming together, they were not nice to each other. I mean, there was a lot of political cartoons. That's how they did our articles in their newspapers that were very filled with vitriol. But yet they loved the country, and they came together when it was necessary. And unfortunately, I don't see a lot of that today. Maybe it'll change. I don't know. But that's what we need to pray for and continue to work toward and be involved in what's going on. So that's my take.
Well, very good. I sure appreciate everything that everybody has said, and I think it's based on pretty much what we've talked about during the whole show here. They have the right to discipline the people within the House and Senate. And to me, it's like, if you don't show up for 64% of the vote, you need to be disciplined. It needs to be brought up and disciplined within their own ranks. Why aren't they disciplining that? So, and that's kind of been the overall discussion today, has been over so many things that are happening within our House and Senate, and yet we're part of the greatest country in the world. No matter what is going on and how they're doing it, we obviously want it better, but the only thing that we know to do is get a hold. Or first of all, go do your research on your senators, your representatives, because if they're doing good, let them know they're doing good, and let everybody else know they're doing good, and vote for them. But if they are not, let's see, what's my I didn't even look here, but North Carolina, where I'm from, my gosh, North Carolina, he was there for most of the votes. So you can't hey, let them know that you appreciate that if they're doing their job, and if they're not doing their job, let them know that too. And so the best we can do, vote them out. But number one thing, go and check everybody out, especially your own state that you're in, your district representative, all that kind of thing. My here in I don't know what. Okay, I wasn't ready for this, but in North Carolina, where I'm at, I have my representative is David Rouser, representing the 7th District of North Carolina, U.S. Congressman. The man sends out an email 7 days a week and keeps us updated on everything that's going on. I would venture to say that possibly your congressman or somebody else in office that represents you does the same thing. Maybe you need to go find out if there is an email going out from one of your representatives, and get them to send it to you. Sign up for it. Get it. Follow it. I scan through mine because I can speed read, but I scan through it and make sure I know the most important things out of it and try to keep updated on that. And that's why I sent out an email based on one of the things that he had said in there about Pelosi and being unconstitutional. So I seem to have a good guy that keeps up with all that. So that's a way that you can audit your people and make sure that you have a voice out there, what's going on, because they're not all bad. Believe it or not, they're not all bad. We got some good ones in there. So sure love you guys. Sure wish we could. It's so interesting to me that I never know where this is going to go. When I have my own little agenda, of what I want to bring us to, but then it always goes in 42 rabbi trails, and so which is all worthwhile.
That's because we're the wild ones. We'll just take it anywhere. We go on a lot of rabbi trails.
That's right. That's right. So
what's the website of where you're looking at that, Mark?
Looking at which one?
At how many people have missed, how many times they've missed?
I'm going to put it on again. Here we go. I'll put it on all right there. That is the what it is it's a report card. Report cards for every state, every senator, every representative, everything. You can go all kinds of different ways on this. So it's very good. I was real surprised on what I found on that. So there you go. And we'll see y'all next week. What is this? Is that your? I can't really tell. Who's that? Oh, that's you guys. That's you guys with Dawn. With Donnie. You guys and Donnie. Wow. I'm jealous now. I'm just jealous now. So anyway. Yeah. All right. Well, so we have celebrities in our midst here.
We're buds. We're buds with Donald Trump. Yeah, we're buds.
Well, then you need to talk to Donald and see if he's got any pull in getting James elected as senator or even governor to the state of Massachusetts, and let's get some things changed.
If you run for office, blow up that picture and put it behind you like you got the congressional picture behind you, and that'll get you elected.
There you go. And the next step is president, James.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm definitely at least old enough to be president, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. Love you. Thanks again for watching. And real quickly, if you don't know how to get to the other shows that we've done, here is boy, it's running really slow. You can go to it's going to change here real quick. Okay, several different ways you can click on that. You can go down here. You can click on this one here. You can go up to more. You can go to the video library, but there's a web page called Contemplating the Constitution, and there's the one we did last week, and within probably sometime this afternoon, I'll have this week's show. So if you missed any part of it and want to go back or want to tell people how to get to it, basically just send them to the website here, this page, and they'll be able to do it. But you can get anywhere else. So there you go. Thanks a million, everybody. Well, I'm not even ready to go out of here. So ta-ta. Have a wonderful week. Shavua Tov.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Sherry. Love you. Love you, Sherry. See you. Love you all.
All right. Got to go. Susan's here.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
I, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, do solemnly swear.
I, Dwight D. Eisenhower, do solemnly swear.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States. So help me God.